I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, the head coach for JobSearchCoachingHQ.com. I do executive job search coaching, I do business life coaching, and a whole host of other things. And the question I was asked is, what's the best way to get your resume noticed? Now, I want to preface my answer, which is going to be direct and to the point like they always are. I want to preface my answer by saying, if you're submitting resumes, you're swimming in the pond with everyone else. And it's hard to be caught as a fish if you're there with millions of other fish. What you're telling me is you're approaching this through traditional channels. That is, you're submitting a resume through an applicant tracking system or some other direct communications rather than working at networking to a hiring manager, developing a relationship with that person and trying to gain entree that way. But be that as it may, I've just given a quick summary of the preferred way to do things, and then from there you would not submit a resume. You would have an introduction to someone, to this person by someone who knows them, who will vouch for you, and give you the opportunity to present yourself. So that's the preferred way. Now, if you really want to submit a resume, then the best way, since you're determined to submit it through an applicant tracking system, is to demonstrate that your background actually fits the job and to make it obvious, as though the reader is 6 years old reading the resume, that you fit this. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you have a job description, which tells me that your question tells me that you want to submit it against the job. So if you have the job description, make sure that all the criteria of the job description are in your resume and that it's obvious. Now, in doing that, you want to use their language. So, for example, there was someone I was coaching who's in a sales role. Now, he would normally talk about increasing sales by certain percentages, but a firm he was interviewing with talked in terms of 4x, 10x, things along those lines. So he started to speak their language in the resume and in his interviews with them. You want to use their language because you want to be understood. It's like, speaking French and interviewing in Germany. If you don't speak the same language, it's harder to connect. So take the time to speak their language. Use their phrasing in your resume. Make the fit obvious, even if you are to create a summary area on the resume toward the very top that takes care of the requirements of the position and the functionality of the job, and it lays out each of them. So, for example, and this is always an easy one, using IT as an example, you list a skill, and next to it you put 3 years current. And the next skill underneath it, 2 years until 1 year ago, item by item, in 2 columns, so that in this way the fit is obvious to the reader, and you're not making them really struggle to get the information. Then number 2 is your resume, as you proceed, has to confirm that, and again, use their language. Finally, and this is where some people forget, make sure your LinkedIn profile is congruent with what you're saying in the resume. If the profile isn't congruent, and it doesn't have to have the same wording, because I assume you're not submitting to one company, submitting resumes to one company, you're submitting to multiples. You want to make sure that it's as all-inclusive as possible, telling the story of what your background is, so that, as I said, a 6-year-old knows that you can do the job. Again, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. Visit my site, JobSearchCoachingHQ.com, where I've curated information that you can watch, listen to, or read to help you find work more quickly, plus the ability to ask me questions, and I'll get back to you quickly with answers. Have a great day. Take care.